We've talked about before about the hilarity, the hilariousness, the bizarre, the weird, the wonderful, and the wacky that often comes from conservative home. But today, we have a bizarre article to go over as a former, well, minister, or shall we say special advisor for Theresa May, has today decided he is going to envision for us the first 100 days of what would effectively be a second Trump presidency. So we're going to go over this because I think this is sort of somewhat quite interesting, somewhat sort of bizarre, but also sort of strange because you get to see this from sort of a UK conservative view rather than a US conservative view, which, to be honest, at times is probably a lot more weird and wacky than, shall we say, some of the stuff that Conservative Home likes to put out. But whenever we talk about the US presidential elections, I've got to remind you people, if you are out there and you are a Democrat or you are an independent in America right now, and you do not want Donald Trump to be, to have this, this first 100 days of what we're about to go through come to pass, get out there, get registered, get everyone else registered. And importantly, on voting day, offer to drive, be like a taxi service for people going out to vote. Make sure you get your side to turn out to vote. Because in 2016, why the Democrats lost was because people did not turn out to vote for Hillary. In 2020, it was the highest turnout for the US in a presidential election for both the Republicans and Democrats. And the worry is, my worry is in particular, and I will always repeat this, is that Democrats do not turn out and vote for Biden, but also independents do also not turn out to vote for Biden. I worry. That is my worry on that, because it will come out to turn out. Otherwise, we're going to get a repeat of 2016. And that is going to upset a lot of people because remember, a lot of people thought Hillary going to walk it against Trump, going to be an easy victory. Now, of course, there are a lot of problems in the Hillary campaign. I'm not going to deny that. But a lot of people just thought Democrats, independents would turn out and vote for her. And unfortunately, a lot of them stayed home. So if you are an American and you are watching this and you are part of that, turnout, important, focus on it. Get people registered, voting. Make sure you are, gonna have people to get out there and vote. Bring them to the polling stations because that is going to be really crucial at this upcoming election for America in November. But on to now the imagining of the imagination, the imagines, the somewhat worrying, shall we say, imagination of what the first 100 days of a second Trump presidency would look like. But before we do get on to that, please do remember to have a look at the Patreon page down below. We've got the One Off Nation link as well called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. That's also down below. You've got the Pony Club as well, the YouTube subscription, where you can subscribe to that as well. And of course, you've got the YouTube thank you button as well. And of course, remember, you are part of the Patreon page or the Pony Club. You do get access to the weekly video that I make for you guys. So do remember to go check those out if you are subscribed to those. But as always, let's crack on to today's wonderful and wacky story. So, as we said, this comes from Conservative Home with the first 100 days of a Trump presidency. Remember, this is from James Johnson, and he was a special advisor to Theresa May. So, let's see what he says about this. So, on the stage earlier this month, fresh from his win in Iowa, Donald Trump rolled out another trademark slogan. We all hear it as much as we did heard build the wall, or even crooked Hillary, or even drill baby drill. I was in the crowd and they loved it. Trump has placed rolling back Joe Biden's restrictions on oil and gas as one of his first priorities if he retakes the White House. But as someone in the crowd, they went further. They came up with a slogan of their own. As Trump moved to the needed to seal up the southern border, someone yelled, "Seal, baby, seal." That saying sums up the fundamental feature of what President Donald Trump's first 100 days could look like. A year from now, we could even be 11 days in. I have written before about in my column about the tenor and style of a Trump presidency, but what would the actual politics be in the opening months of Trump 47? First, be in no doubt, there is a plan. This is a less chaotic team than of the first Trump administration that unexpectedly stumbled to power in 2017. Flanking Trump on the stage that night was Suez Wills, his campaign manager, and Chris Lesavita and Jason Miller, two of his most senior aides. All three are serious operators who will likely be at the forefront of his White House team. And bear in mind, those three people are also part of Project 2025. And bear in mind, Project 2025 is an open document. You can go read it right now. It is terrifying. But essentially, what it is the complete authoritarian start of a takeover of the US. It's very terrifying. It's free for you to go and read. We've done it before on this channel. We did a live stream about it. But needless to say, very worrying indeed. So, for Trump and the team, the border will be a key priority. It could very well be the thing that propels them into the White House. As we said, this is what you've seen at the moment, why the Southern Republican governors are trying to stir this up, because they know this could very well be the thing that propels them to it. So in the last month alone, there were an estimated 300,000 illegal crossings across the southern border. You read that right. That is 10 times the number of migrants who made it across the English Channel in the calendar year in 1 month. It is the central issue in American politics. Regarding polling, has now found it now tops voters' priorities ahead of inflation for the very first time. Nor is it a white conservative issue. Independents place it at the top of their concern. Hispanics rank it as among more highly than white voters. The influx of people strikes at the very same sense of unfairness that crossing the channels do in the UK. Why should I work hard and pay into the system when others can cheat it? And it's not the system that's being cheated, it's a system that just currently isn't working for the UK. Again, like I say, Theresa May broke it, so but then again, this guy obviously was a special advisor for Theresa May, so he's not going to say that. Anyway, part of Trump's answer is, of course, the same as it was in 2016: build the wall. And to bring back the Trump era restrictions, such as remain in Mexico, where migrants must be processed in Mexico rather than on American soil. Expect to see some executive orders signed on day one to bring these back. He may even put some prominent people in charge of that effort. They would be even worse choices than the energetic Vivek Ramaswamy, who endorsed Trump after leaving the presidential race after Iowa. I don't think Vivek's going to take that. I don't think he's going to take that border post. Maybe if Trump gives it to him. But one of the things in 2025 and the people who are behind Project 2025 is that they are looking for people to fill these cabinet positions, to go and do these crazy Trump era plans. And it's for a range of positions, even looking for someone new to take over running of the FBI. So, yeah, like I said, Project 2025, terrifying. So, but There is, of course, a new feature to Trump's border plan this time around: deportations. Speaking in Nevada last week, the presidential frontrunner promised, quote, the largest deportation operation in American history. If you thought the Muslim ban was offensive to liberal sympathies, wait until this one lands. And oh boy, like I say, Trump wielding the presidential power to do this, he could very well do that. He could very well do that. And if he puts, as we said, someone from Project 2025 in, it wouldn't be, shall we say, Trump having to run it. It would be another guy who would, shall we say, just look to get, shall we say, Trump's, shall we say, seal and signature on the bottom of the paper. And you could see all kinds of really bad plans and all kinds of really insane policies get signed through. So there are, of course, questions as to whether this is practically possible, which leaves what Trump can pull. But his administration will try as many routes as they can, from illegally questionable invoking the Alien Enemies Act, which gives the president power to deport enemies of the state, to a widespread deputization of the National Guard. There is even a division in Trump world about whether to set a cutoff date as its retrospective deportations, or for only people who enter illegally after January the 20th of 2024. If these efforts are even stymied or watered down by the courts, this is where it starts to get worrying, because a large part of Project 2025 not only is to put more conservative in these courts. As we said, we've got a majority on the Supreme Court at the moment. They are all, should we say, backers behind this. But if any more liberals or liberal judges die within the next 5 years, then Trump is going to appoint more extreme conservatives. One of the other things that 2025 Project has done is to draw up a list of very extreme right-wing judges that they want to see on the Supreme Court for picks for Trump should a position be opened. Again, really worrying. So would these efforts be stymied or watered down by the court? Trump will probably be able to rely on public opinion, though views would, of course, be polarized somewhat if this came into being. Currently, 2/3 of Americans do support deportations, including 7,000 to 10,000 independents and fully half of Democrats. So, what else would we be seeing in the other first 100 days? Well, for one thing, that drilling. This is a straightforward executive order to make, as many regulations stem from the executive branch through the Environmental Protection Agency. But just because there might be more oil and gas action, do not expect Biden's green subsidies to just disappear. The hands-on government funding was modeled in Trump's image, but its popularity and impact on local jobs will likely mean that they might stay. Never mind the deportations. The Trump measure, which is currently driving a respectable Republican and business opinion up most of the war, is the question of tariff. Trump has, of course, promised trade tariffs of up to 10%, possibly applied in a very blanket fashion. So this whole thing about us getting a favorable trade deal, Trump is putting up tariffs. So this whole thing about, oh yeah, we get favorable tariffs. Yeah, I don't see that. I really do not see that. We would honestly get our trousers pulled down around our ankles by a Trump presidency. People think, oh, Trump would favor the UK more favorably. I think we would probably get a better deal from a more Democrat administration. But there you go. He will, of course, very much likely use this technique as a negotiating tactic to competitor countries. Change your policies, or we will not roll these tariffs back. But even so, history shows that countries often respond in kind in the first instance. The first 100 days of a Trump presidency could even mean the greatest rolling back of free trade we have seen in decades. So, as we said, don't expect a good free trade deal from Trump. There's a lot of Brexiteers going, oh my God, Trump would give us a really favorable trade deal. Don't think he would. He really would not. And of course, the next question of NATO membership is the talk in diplomatic circles. Expect it to be another negotiating move. The ultimate chip at the European poker table. He will order European nations to spend more on defense, or the USA will withdraw. He may even draw up a timetable to make it real, and he will be ready to follow through if they do not. After much consternation, Europe will likely and rightly dance to Trump's tune to beef up their spending in response. Here's the thing: many European nations do not really need to do that at all. Right now, because of what's been going on in Ukraine, a lot of countries right now have raised their spending in response. NATO, as we said before, requires 2% GDP spending, of course, on defense. Every European country now has met that 2% thing because of what has been going on in Ukraine. They have really woken up to the threat that Russia has posed. So at this point, even if Trump starts to demand more spending, a lot of people are just going to turn around and just say, well, we're already meeting that target. So that will be a really big issue. And that is something that we will absolutely keep an eye on if there is another Trump presidency. And then, of course, talking about Ukraine, then there is Ukraine. Trump will obviously seek to initiate his promise of a peace summit between Russia and Ukraine quickly. What is less clear is whether it will get anywhere. Putin looks less likely to want to sue for peace than he might have a year ago. As Dominic Lawson wrote in the Sunday Times this week, Trump might end up going cold on negotiating with Putin if he does not play ball with the president's demands. And trust me, it's what then happens. Let's say if Trump and Putin become buddy-buddy and say, oh, this is the peace deal we want, would then Trump put pressure on Ukraine to accept a peace deal which is favorable to Russia? That is something as well we should worry about. We should be very worried about that if Trump tries to do this, because remember, Trump's master plan is he can bring peace to Ukraine within like 24 hours. He's never specified what exactly he's going to do, how he would achieve that, but that is very worrying. So, back to Iowa. After Drill Baby Drill, the sounds from the crowd, Trump then turned to the question of Ukraine. An anti-Zelensky diatribe along the lines of Tucker Carlson, this was not. He spoke about the situation in Ukraine being, quote, so horrible, called by Russia's attack. In a very somber tone, he spoke of the tragedy of many people killed in attacks on Ukrainian cities and of a culture destroyed, 1,000-year-old buildings turned to rubble. It was very meekly different approach to that which many commentators characterize as Trump taking on the conflict. But we've still got to be careful about what he means by peace. Trump may very well, as we have seen in the past, be willing to sell Ukraine down the river if he, quote, gets peace. And of course, Trump will talk it up. Russia will say this is an amazing, fantastic peace. And of course, if Ukraine doesn't accept that peace, Trump will go, no more aid from us. And at that point, as we've said before, we have to step up. Massively so. So, in just a few words, if there is but one lesson of the first Trump term, we should take his words seriously. In deciphering what a second Trump term would look like, we should apply that logic to the tone in the underreported nuance of his words, as well as his brash statements. And here's the thing. Trump talked about this, about other US allies, about supporting US allies. And Trump, throughout his last term, threw allies under the bus, left, right, and center. Just because he's suddenly gone, oh, these really, these poor Ukrainians, they've turned, all these ancient, buildings to rust and to rubble by the Russians. Don't take those at his word. I would be highly skeptical what Trump might have planned for Ukraine, and that worries me more than anything else. That to me is the biggest worry. So, oh yeah, we're just going to examine what Trump's words. Yeah, Trump has lied before. He said these things before in the past, and he didn't follow through on them. And as we said, he's abandoned US allies before in the past and sold them down the river in order to say, look good. A big part of the problem why the Taliban became so powerful again in Afghanistan was because Trump did a deal with the Taliban to release a load of Taliban fighters, and guess what? They went back into Afghanistan, which is why you saw Afghanistan fall so quickly to to the Taliban again. ah, And not only that, Syria as well. He's abandoned, allies in Syria. Um, Taiwan is another very big concern for us. Trump influencers said, "Don't talk to me about Taiwan." There's the Korea situation between North and South Korea. So many things and problems that Trump has said one way and then he's done something completely different. So don't believe that end where, oh, we've just got to, look what Trump's saying and take him at his word. Yeah, and if if this guy would love to take President Trump at his word, or shall we say, a future President Trump at his word again, um, I've got some magic beans for James Johnson. Would you love to buy these? These magic invisible beans. It's only like £10,000, but trust me, it's an investment well worth putting in. So as always, let me know what you think down below. And of course, again, I will reiterate this right now. If you are an independent, if you are a Democrat, get out there, start registering people to vote, and make sure on polling day, you are getting yourself and as many other people as you possibly can to the polling station. Because turnout in this election, I think, is what is going to decide it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.